the digital station for comedy, drama and entertainment. BBC Radio 4 Extra.
Never mind the time of day, it's the second now in our series Arabian Afternoons. 3 contemporary dramas set in the Middle East, inspired by stories from the Arabian Nights. This one's called The Porter and the Three Ladies by Rachel Joyce.
You promised one last story, Shahrazad.
So I did, Your Majesty.
A story of freedom, you said. Smile.
I am smiling at the irony, great king, that I, who must die with the rising of the sun, choose on my last night to tell a tale of escape. But there, I am not the first to sing in my cage, and certainly not the last. So, sire, are you sitting comfortably? Enough scented aloe wood on the fire? Then I will begin. Once upon a time, in a land that is far away, there lived a young man who told stories.
Like you, child?
Like me a little, Majesty, but also not like me. His stories were wild and intoxicating, but unlike mine, he wrote them down in newspapers and called them the truth. Now, the name of this young man, as lovingly whispered by his mother, was Joseph. Joe Porter. While many years later, his lover would call him
Joe!
Go on.
And this, oh happy king, is his story. I call it The Porter and the Three Ladies. And it begins with his employer.
I don't care if the Prince of Wales is upset. Tell him I'll send him a tree to hug. Joe.
I heard you wanted a word, Margot.
I wanted to, sweet. You're fired.
She was powerful then, this lady?
Oh, very, Your Majesty.
As powerful as I?
Her kingdom was a publishing house. Her people were its readers. Once a day, she produced the biggest-selling tabloid in the land.
Beautiful?
Her beauty was razor-sharp. Quite literally.
So, what of the boy, Joe?
He too was beautiful, though somewhat damaged inside. And she wished she would not, but she ached for him with every muscle of her surgically enhanced body. But she was a businesswoman, and in matters of the heart, business comes first.
Fired? Why?
I'm the one who asked the questions. And I'm asking, why hasn't he come up with a story in 6 weeks? Why is he drinking again?
Stop!
Oh, don't lie to me, you little bastard.
She swears, O Majesty, words of such foulness, I am not permitted to repeat them. Joe hangs his head low.
My dad's dying.
And?
I know I'm no good, but I've been chasing up some leads, and I've got something really big. Tiger Woods.
Oh, get out of here, you miserable piece of...
There she goes again. Wastage, she calls him. I can only apologize, Majesty.
I want the story that sells. Not about has-beens. Not about easy targets with their trousers down. Shock me. Turn me on. I want to feel the full force of living without moving from my chair. That's the story I want.
But I can do that. And I'll stop drinking.
Margot reflects. She rules with an iron hand, but like many great rulers, she has one weakness. It is for the honey sweetness of Joe's beautiful mouth.
Just give me one more chance, Margot. Please.
One last chance. And if you don't come up with a front-page story in 1 month, I will
chop off his head.
Ah, Majesty, we have to move things away from the immediate. That, if you will allow me a moment's reflection, is the whole point of stories. No. If Joe fails, he will lose his job and his place in Margot's bed. And in the land where they live, oh, Majesty, that is a kind of end. So, Joe packs his rucksack And he travels far and wide. He sees things, Your Majesty, such as he has never seen before. Stories to make your beard curl. But nowhere does he find the headline Margot wants. The one to shock and thrill in equal measure. The month is almost up when he finds himself in Damascus.
Does he find the story there?
He will return to Margot. Older, wiser, and considerably thinner, but with a tale to tell.
So, the boy did it. You got what I asked. Welcome home, stranger. How is your father?
They think he won't survive the night. I came to you first, though, to deliver the story. Then I'll go to the hospital, hold his hand, you know.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, my story. Do you want it?
Of course I want it. Is it hot?
Very.
Wild?
Death-defying. It's the kind of story that changes everything.
Let me have it. Word for word.
So Joe does as she commands. He tells how late one night in Damascus. And doesn't everything begin as a little story? Once upon a time, we might as well say. Joe Porter was out of luck.
It's my last night, and I've still got no story. There's only one thing for it. What's wrong with the way I dress?
This is a hotel, sir. You need a tie.
All I'm asking for is a drink.
We do not sell alcohol on these premises, as you well know, sir.
Oh, come off it. I can see the bar. You mean to tell me all those guys are drinking fruit juice?
You are making a scene.
You want proof I'm respectable? Hey, look at that, huh? Press badge, okay.
Allow me to escort you to the street.
All I want is a drink. I maybe shouldn't have done that, the shouting, because suddenly everyone's looking at me, and I know I want a drink. I also know that no one will give me one now. And then there's this noise. The lift doors open, and this girl, this woman, comes out.
She stands, swathed in a wrapper of gold-embroidered muslin, fringed with gold lace, and wearing embroidered boots, and floating tresses plaited with silk and gold.
She is beautiful?
As beautiful as an apricot lightly poached in 1,000 spices.
She's wearing this amazing coat. Gucci, Margot. But the buttons aren't quite done up. And underneath she's dressed like a princess. Jewels, gold silk. She catches my eye. The girl. She walks straight over.
Bring your bag.
That's what she says.
It is.
But you don't.
I'm gobsmacked. There's a white car waiting outside. You know, royal flag, the lot. She nods towards it.
Follow me.
But this is a setup. Lure a Westerner out of his hotel and then hold him hostage, especially a good-looking young journalist.
I'm desperate, Margot. It's my last night. I need this story.
He is also looking for something else, Majesty. Only this part of the story Joe omits to tell.
You're looking for a drink?
I don't need a drink.
Get in the car if you want a drink.
I don't even see the chauffeur. He's a shape at the driving wheel. Quite a big shape, actually. But now I'm in the car with her. I can smell her. And she smells of fear. Her face in the soft light is hidden by makeup, like a disguise, like a veil.
And she's a princess.
Looks like it.
Then what was she doing in the hotel?
That's what I'm going to find out. Only I've got to box clever. So, what were you doing in the hotel?
What do you like to drink?
I thought alcohol was strictly off limits.
Do you want this drink or not?
My God, it's like Aladdin's cave. You've got everything.
Whiskey? Glenfiddich?
Well, why not?
You and I are going shopping. Don't worry, Joe the porter. You will be safe.
And this is when the penny drops. She thinks I am a porter. On account of the name on my press badge. She thinks that is my job.
You mean it's all a misunderstanding?
Exactly.
An anomaly, in fact. Just like the beginning of so many stories, Majesty. The trick is to start with one out-of-the-ordinary thing and continue like this, threading on unlikelihoods until the listener is giddy. And yet, to tie up the ending in a place of such plausible ordinariness, they wonder they did not know the story right from the start.
But Joe is telling Margot the truth?
About the girl, yes. For professional reasons, he chooses not to mention the alcohol.
And Margot believes him?
In her mind, Margot has already written the headline. If Joe has a nose for a story, then Margot has the teeth for a scandal. Arabian princesses who buy on the black market. Yes, she believes Joe because right now it suits her to believe him.
So, if I am Joe the porter, may I ask who you are?
Drink what you like, but ask no questions.
I'm scared. I admit that. But she keeps filling my glass, and that blurs the fear. I hear street sounds, distant sirens. And then we stop. She lowers the window. It looks as if we're in some sort of ghetto. Falling down buildings, boarded up windows. She wraps a scarf round her head.
Bring your bag.
Is this safe?
It is safe if you ask nothing. Come.
They creep down a run-down street. This is a dark place, but they must be careful they are not seen. There, she raps at a wooden door, and presently comes out an old man, to whom she gives a gold piece, receiving from him in return wine as clear as olive oil.
Every place she stops, there's a transaction with a figure hidden behind a door. She buys a few things, and each of them she passes to me to put in the bag.
What things?
What does she buy, child?
Shami apples, Your Majesty, and Osmani quinces, and cucumbers of Nile, and sultani oranges, and scented myrtle berries.
A load more alcohol, cocaine, chocolate, bottles of tablets.
Blood-red anemones, violets, and pomegranate bloom.
If anyone stops us, we're both in serious trouble. So I say, being the witty sort and a tad nervous, if I'd known you were buying all this, I'd have brought a horse.
Or a camel, it being the Middle East.
Or indeed a camel, Margot. She smiles.
The princess with no name and a serious drug problem.
And gives me a little cuff on the neck.
Says what?
Then she says...
Be quiet. We will pay you for your pains.
We?
Exactly. She's not operating on her own. This is it, Margot. This is the story I couldn't find. And all I did was wait, and it fell into my lap. The only thing left is to crack it right open.
Get back in the car. We are almost home.
And where is home, exactly?
You think I'm going to tell you that? Get in the car.
Finally, they come to a mansion fronted by a spacious court, a tall, fine place to which columns give strength and grace. Joe looks at it in wonderment.
I mean, this is a palace. Barbed wire, floodlights, security cameras all over the shop. I've never been anywhere like it. The car that has brought us here seems to vanish into the night. He doesn't say much, your chauffeur.
That is because he has no tongue.
What?
Bring the bag.
The lady steps to the door and, turning her veil sideways, knocks softly with her pale knuckles.
Open sesame!
Who is this?
It's me, Afia.
But you are not alone, sister.
He's just a porter.
Wait.
Nice pad. You live here with your sister, Afia, you called her?
You think I'm joking about no questions? You think this is a made-up story?
What are you doing?
Confiscating your mobile phone.
Do I look like the kind of guy who has a mobile phone? I'm a porter, lady.
You'd better not be lying. Now shut up. My sister's coming.
The door opens, and there stands the girl's sister, Afia. She's about 5 feet high, a model of beauty and loveliness.
Give me what's in the bag.
Oh, don't worry. It's awfully heavy. I'll carry it in. Joe the porter, at thy service.
You see? He's no harm. Follow me.
I've done it, Margot. I'm inside.
They come into a spacious ground floor hall, beautified with all manner of colors and carvings.
Come, follow us.
And sitting on the couch, he sees another woman whose eyebrows are arched like bows. The third sister. And her name is Juliba.
So they are all three beautiful?
Oh, exquisite! You would have liked them very much, Your Majesty. They are as sweet as Turkish delight. But you know what you're like. You would have chopped off their heads. They are much safer here in our story and the bountiful glow of your imagination.
But is Margot not jealous?
No, she feels triumphant. That despite such rich temptation, her lover is safely returned. She pulls at her ice-crisp collar.
Is it me or is it very hot in here?
So, Joe stands surrounded by all three ladies as they empty the load. He feels, though he will not report this to Margot, as if he has woken up in heaven. When his rucksack is empty, they return it to him with 2 gold pieces.
Time to go, Porter.
What? Well, that's it.
Young man, you cannot stay.
You must not ask this, Porter.
You would betray our secret.
Me? I'm a porter. Who am I going to tell? Besides, whatever fun you get up to, I've done worse. Oh, look, I'll be no trouble. Your secret's safe with me. Honest, just let me stay.
He helped sisters. He carried the bag without complaining. How could he betray us? Besides, he's funny. He makes me laugh.
All right, Porter, you may stay. There is only one condition. You ask...
No questions, yes.
If you do, you will be punished. Worse.
I am dumb. Zip, my lips are sealed.
And now we will party.
So, what happened next?
Well, we shared a few drinks and stuff. Then we chatted into the night.
You chatted into the night?
Yeah. At one point, I think there was music, bit of dancing. I was just trying to find out what was going on. I had my professional hat on. Obviously, when I write the story up, there'll be more detail. And then it was morning.
That was it?
In nutshell.
Tell me what happened, maggot. Now!
Okay.
At this point, I'm afraid I must take over, Your Majesty. Maybe it is beginning to dawn on you that Joe is not an entirely reliable narrator.
But you will tell me, child, what happens.
Sadly, O great king, for reasons of propriety, the next few scenes must be omitted. Suffice it to say that Joe is in the very paradise of pleasure. While we are waiting for the next part of the story, I will sing you a little song I once heard about A before E.
Not so fast. I command you to tell me what happens to Joe and the three ladies. Tell me, or I will have you killed at dawn.
Pardon me, happy kingliness, but I believe you have already promised that. However, if you insist, I may go so far as to suggest what happens with, as it were, broken pictures. The rest you must piece together for yourself.
It will have to suffice.
Well, now, as I said, there is much joyful feasting. And there is water, too.
from the bubbling fountain?
There is sport in the water.
Love sport? All of them?
There is much, much happy laughter. Then clothes are wet and must be taken off. And there is flesh, milky white and beautiful. And someone, I cannot imagine who, suggests a game.
What sort of game?
A guessing game, Your Majesty. Though the penalties for a wrong answer are severe.
Don't you know what this is?
Your well.
No.
Your pot of honey.
That's not its name. Beat him, sister.
No, don't.
I am shocked, child.
But I have not said one shocking word. If you are shocked, Majesty, it is your own imagination that has offended. And what will you do? Behead yourself for lewdness? I hope not. I would weep for the rest of my life.
Oh, just get on with it.
Exhausted, the two older women fall into a sleep. And Joe is alone once more with the beautiful girl who mistook him for a porter.
And I still don't even know your name. Ow! I just want to know what to call you. Technically, that's not a question. It has a nice full stop at the end. Oh, I like your smile. Give me your name. I won't hurt you.
Mira.
Hello, lovely Mira. So, you live here with your sisters. Statement of fact. In this palace. 3 princesses.
Not exactly.
I thought as much. You sell your bodies to wealthy men in hotels. I'm right, aren't I?
Sister. It's all right. If I'm not a princess, you're not a porter. Do you think I don't know a Western press badge when I see one?
You knew all along.
Don't worry, Joe. Your secret's safe.
Okay, I'm a journalist. But I'm not a very good one. I drink too much. I miss all the stories, and even when I get the stories, I never seem to go beyond the surface. I can't. I don't know why. Why does anyone do what they do? Stuffed if I know.
Do you have children, Joe?
Me? No. Too much pain. For them, I mean. There is nothing like a child's pain.
You speak as if you know about it.
A child's pain?
Do you know?
No. My childhood was very ordinary. I loved to play the piano. Do you have children?
My sisters do. 1 son each. They are beautiful boys. Afia's is almost as tall as me. Juliba's boy likes cricket. Oh. They live far away in the land we came from. How will they eat if we do not feed them?
You do all this for your children? Where are their fathers?
There is a war. Where do you think they are? Before we came here, Afia's husband was dragged out of the house and shot. Juliba's blown to pieces walking down the street. Horror brings more horror and hate more hate. It's how it is.
So if you knew I was a journalist, why did you ask me to follow?
That's enough questions, Joe.
Because you were right. I mean, I can do something here. I can save you.
Can Joe really save Mira? Or is he lying?
It is a strange truth, Majesty, that we can believe our own lies. At this moment, Joe believes that if he has Mira's story, he has the power to free her. For something has happened to him, Majesty.
And what is that, child?
He has started to connect with his subject. What began as an exercise to save himself has become something else. The girl is no longer to him just the sum of a string of words. She moves him.
And does Joe tell Margot all this?
Well, great king, another interesting question. He is beginning to wish he hadn't started telling this tale without jotting at least some of it down in note form first. Because the look on Margot's face is more like one who has sucked 6 lemons hoping they were jellies. Things are not exactly going the way he planned.
You liar!
La. Oh, here she goes again. There are some characters, Your Majesty, who seem to acquire a life of their own. But back to Joe and the mighty Margot.
What kind of fool do you take me for? You know what you are.
This isn't what you think.
You're fired. No second chances. And you can find your own bed tonight, sweetheart, because you're sure as hell not sharing mine.
You send me off to find a story that is as powerful as living.
I asked for a story. Not the full-blown, pardon the pun, experience.
And what's a story, Margot? Is it only something that happens to other people? Because if you ask me, the stories that are alive are the ones that blur the lines.
Come here. Do you think, after this, you will ever work again? I'm Margot Miles.
I was trying to get inside the story, Margot. These women were in serious danger. They were damaged. It had to stop.
You're right. You're right. When these women are caught, there will be hell to pay. 3 princesses addicted to drink and drugs.
But they're not real princesses, I told you.
Detail, Joe. I'm looking at the bigger picture, and this will be huge.
You mean shop them? To the authorities?
Get on to the lawyers.
But the story we print is going to help them. We're going to expose the hypocrisy of Western businessmen wanting these girls to act out some Arabian Nights fantasy so they don't have to face up to how sordid their needs are.
Do you think my readers want to feel sorry for prostitutes and addicts? Especially in a country they don't understand. No, my readers want to condemn. They want to sit in the comfort of their 3-piece suites and feel better than the scum of the earth, not down there with it.
How did you get to be so unfeeling, Margot?
I'm a woman in a man's world, Joe. What we need is proof. Can you go back?
Go back? My dad's dying.
We can probably get away with fixing a photograph. I know it's risky, but once the damage is done, we can whack in an apology. Why didn't you take a photograph?
I don't know.
Oh, but you did.
No.
You may be the cutest thing in Canary Wharf, but you are also the worst liar. You used your mobile phone.
Okay. I took photos.
Oh, you clever, clever boy. Come into my arms. Tell me how you did it.
It was in my pocket. Mira got up saying I was to stay where I was. The sisters began doing something in the shadows. It was easy to get the photographs. I wanted to remember how beautiful she was. I got the room, the bottles and stuff, and the ladies. I got them too. And I lay back and maybe I fell asleep because the next thing I heard was music. It was like nothing I've ever heard. And the sisters were all dressed like something you dream about. And they were dancing with these golden rods.
I assume this is a euphemism.
No, but I'm sure you'll use your version in the edit. The truth is, it was the most beautiful dance I'd ever seen. Mira came close, so close I could see the look in her eyes. It was like emptiness and pain both at the same time. And then suddenly the sisters lifted the golden rods and brought them down on their bodies. They were beating themselves like dogs, and I just sat there, so afraid I couldn't move, until something came boiling up inside me, like poison. Stop!
What are you doing?
I forgot all about the sisters and their stupid rule.
Answer my question! What the hell is going on? Joe broke the rule?
He did, Your Majesty.
But the punishment will be severe.
Indeed.
The chauffeur lost his tongue.
Quite so, Your Majesty. It is a brutal world. Once upon a time, and here we go again, he questioned the ladies, and he paid the consequences. But don't pay too much attention to the chauffeur. I admit he's a bit of fun on my part and something of a red herring.
What will the ladies do to Joe? Will they rip out his insides, boil his brains, and make delicacies of his eyeballs? What will they do?
They tie him up.
Ah.
They hold knives over his throat.
Ah. And again.
And they say to the young and beautiful Joe,
You think that because we are women we don't mean what we say? You think we are afraid?
Yes, we sell our bodies in Western hotels. But do you think it is what we want? We beat our skin to pay for our sin.
We are only complete when we wear our shame.
Is this true, Shahrazad? What they say?
It is not for me to say, Majesty. We are wild creatures at heart, struggling to be civilized. But it is almost dawn, Majesty. We had better return to Joe's story, for Margot is looking pale.
Did they touch you?
Yes, my arm.
Sure. Oh, my God!
It didn't hurt. Not at the time. It hurt about, I don't know, minutes afterwards. I thought I'd pass out. Maybe I did.
Well, then what?
Well, they said if I didn't want to be beaten alive, I'd better tell them the truth.
The truth?
Something that would cost me. I didn't know what they meant.
Oh, don't be stupid. They knew you were a journalist. They knew about the photographs. It was a story, for God's sake. When I gave you the challenge, I didn't imagine you'd get hurt.
I thought that was exactly what you wanted.
I do have some feelings, Joe. Even if I don't know how to say them. So, what happened next?
They said they wanted the truth that was buried deep inside me.
Well, I hope you gave them the photographs.
Oh, I offered, but they laughed. Trickery, they called them. Then I touched the gash on my arm, and I began.
So Joe, who traveled far and wide to find someone else's story, is forced to look inside himself and tell his own. And this time, it is not his job that is at stake, not even his happiness. It is a matter of life and death. And now, he tells Margot the story he told the ladies.
When I was a boy, my mother got this idea I should have piano lessons. She was a quiet woman, especially beside my dad. But she thought that if I was musical, I'd be okay in life. So every week she'd tell Dad we were off to the library, and instead we'd go to a man called Larry. He had gentle hands and a soft voice, the opposite of Dad. But when the lesson was over, Mum would say, "Since we don't have a piano at home, Larry, could I ask if Joe could go over his scales?" They'd leave me on my own and go upstairs. And going home, I always had this feeling as if my mum and I had this secret that wasn't about my dad.
Well, they were having an affair.
I think they really made one another happy. Anyway, one day she said there was no lesson. Larry was away, she said. Well, I could see straight through that. I heard the front door shut and saw her running away down the street. And it was as if the bottom had fallen out of something. Next thing I knew, I was calling out for Dad.
You told him?
I said it like a child, but I knew what I was saying. He frog-marched me to Larry's house. I was praying I'd be wrong. But her coat was on the peg, wasn't it? Dad kicked the living daylights out of him. The piano lesson stopped after that. And then he started laying into Mum.
Your father?
At first he did it behind closed doors. But when he saw he could get away with it, he became less careful, more addicted. And I let him. I told myself he was right. She deserved it. He bought me a piano. And while I played, he beat my mother. She stopped going out. She stopped talking. He beat her like a dog until the day she died.
That's terrible.
You think the darkness is somewhere else, but it's right inside you. You can blame it on something outside, you can shoo it under the carpet, but it doesn't go away. And now he's dying, and he was evil, but he was my dad. And I'm still wanting to hold his hand.
So, what did the ladies say at the end of your story?
I don't know, Margot. Only Mira was left.
Joe? You slept, or something else. Perhaps it was the drink. My sisters have gone.
Gone? Where?
They said to let you go too. It is almost morning. There is something I wanted to say to you, Joe. You are good. You think you are not, but you are.
Mira, come with me. You can't stay here. We need each other.
We must all go home now. Write better stories, Joe. Use your words like a voice in the wilderness, unafraid and beautiful. Because this is over here. For all of us.
And with that, she opens the door and leads him out. And he finds, can you believe this? That his hotel is just across the road. The chauffeur had simply driven them in a huge circle. Joe is back where he started. And in the cold light of day, it looks not so magical at all.
What? I don't understand. Were these ladies real?
To Joe, they were. To us, well, this is a story, Majesty. Academics might call them a metaphor.
I am not fond of metaphors. They get in the way of action.
Oh, allow me a little poetry now and then. The princesses are ladies who dress up for the pleasure of men. But they are his demons, too. And in order to be free, he must face their horror and let them go.
Is Margot his demon?
Very good, Majesty. I think we're about to find out.
So, you still have the photographs?
Right here.
My God! That's real.
It was.
What are you doing?
It's over, Margot.
No, give me that. Give me that. You can't delete...
I just have.
Oh,
You can run the story if you like. But your readers will have to imagine the rest. I can't help thinking it will do them good.
What about the job? What about me? I am Margot Miles. You don't stand up to me.
No? Well, I think I am. I don't need to sleep in your bed. And I certainly don't need to write your stories. Like Mira said, it's all over.
Joe!
I'm sorry, Margot.
He walks away. Our hero. Only not feeling the hero at all. Feeling more like an incidental character who has hopped into some other people's stories for a while, then drifted out again. And it occurs to him as he goes that this is the way in life. Things don't so much begin as turn up. They don't so much end as disappear. Nothing is forever.
But where is the wedding? The feast and the song?
The happy ending must be Joe's freedom. He will not tell stories anymore, or if he does, he will tell the ones he wants to tell, and not the ones that are expected. There is one last person Joe must see.
His tyrant father?
He goes to the hospital, with heavy foot and heavy heart. He looks at the brute who beat his wife and inspired nothing in his son but fear.
And does Joe kill him?
There may be a version of this story where Joe kills his father. It is, after all, the villain's due. But I am a woman, Majesty, and I prefer another way. Joe looks down at this dying piece of flesh. Just so much skin and bone. He remembers Mira and the ladies. He remembers how horror breeds further horror, and hate further hate.
For all you have done, I forgive you.
He does not call him Dad. He does not stay. He walks out of the hospital and into the street, and he does not know what will happen next. But whatever it is, he is no longer afraid. There is a stillness and a quiet that comes with an ending, but put in another light is really something else. It is a beginning that is so new it stands without words, like a lamb shivering in the cold light of morning. And that, Your Majesty, is finally the end. An end to a story. And the end for me, too. In truth, I'm very tired. Maybe an end will be a blessing.
Kiss me, Shahrazad. You're as wild and as beautiful as honey. But you're trembling.
It's nothing, Majesty.
Let me wrap you in my cloak. I believe I'm falling in love.
Oh, did I mention that as Joe walks into the new morning, far away in another land, a man is eating a pomegranate?
A pomegranate? You said nothing about that.
Well, there is nothing remarkable about eating a pomegranate, of course, unless something extraordinary happens as you sink your teeth in. But that is a whole new story.
Shahrazad.
Majesty.
Tell me the story of the man and the pomegranate.
In The Porter and the Three Ladies by Rachel Joyce, Shahrazad was played by Serene Saba and Shahrayar by Kevork Melikian. Joe was played by Stephen Tompkinson and Margot by Joanna Munro. Mira was played by Indira Varma, Afia by Jasmine Jones, and Juliba by Melissa Advani. The director was Tracy Neal.